Let's take a look at the materials we need to put this pump in. We have the electric cable, which is designed to be used underwater. It's called submersible pump cable. Then we have the drop pipe. It's water pipe that we intend to drop down the well, so that's what we call drop pipe. This pipe is selected specifically for this particular solar pump. This pump is a piston type. It pushes the water out in pulses. Because it's pulsating, it puts extra stresses on the pipe. The best solution to that is to use pipe that's flexible. Because it's flexible, it's able to stretch and absorb the pulsations. Also, it's very easy to install by hand because it's essentially flexible hose and we can put it down the well very easily. It's also easy to transport to a remote place. So we've selected this particular pipe, which is polyethylene. In order to make reliable connections to polyethylene pipe, we use good heavy fittings that are well proven to hold. We have safety rope in case a pipe connection comes loose and the pump is hanging. We don't want it to hang by the electrical cable. That could break also. The splice could break. So we have safety rope to hold up the pump in case anything breaks. It's an expensive pump. If we lose it down a 200-foot hole, it's gone. A submersible pump, whether it's a solar pump or a conventional AC pump, usually comes with a short leader cable attached to it, ending like that. Well, we need to attach that to our drop cable, and it has to be absolutely 100% waterproof. So what we use is a splice kit. These pieces of tubing are very special. They're called heat shrink tubing. When we heat it with a torch, it shrinks. Also, inside it is an adhesive that melts and provides an adhesive sealant. To carry electric power to the pump requires two wires for positive and negative. The colors of the wires tell you which is which. A third wire is added for electrical grounding. That is this wire which connects to the frame of the pump. In case there's an electrical fault inside, it eliminates or minimizes the possibility of shock hazard to anyone doing repairs. On the submersible cable, one wire is labeled with green coloring to indicate that's to be used as the ground wire. On this particular pump, the polarity doesn't matter, so we can connect it either way. We don't have to be concerned with that. Different pumps vary. Some of them will require the polarity be correct and others not.
Okay, go ahead.
Now we're going to strip some insulation off of the ends of the submersible wires. Because these wires are so much smaller than this, I'm going to strip a little bit extra off of here and fold them over to give us more metal to grab. So we slip the shrink tubing over the wires. Do one at a time. This is a crimp connector, which holds the two wires together. And we squeeze it down with the crimping tool. This has to be strong. We don't want it to pull out. So I'm going to put my weight on this thing and give it a good hard crimp. Just make sure this is strong. So it is. Now we slip the shrink tubing over the joint, get these wires out of the way. Starting at the middle, we very gently heat the plastic. It's just plastic, so we don't want to burn it. And look at that, it's actually shrinking. It's the incredible shrinking tube. And as we work our way out, the adhesive sealant will eventually ooze out the end and assure us that we have made a perfect seal. This can be done with a cigarette lighter too, but it's a bit difficult. Fini. Okay, strong connections. All that's left to do now is wrap it with electrical tape to give it some protection against bending, fatigue, and stresses, and abrasion to finish the submersible splice. To determine how far down to set this pump, we talked to the well driller. He told us that most of the water is coming in at a level of 70 feet. In fact, it's coming in at that level considerably faster than this pump will pull it. So we decided to put the pump in at 80 feet. So we've cut 80 feet of our pipe and a little more than 80 feet of the electrical cable, and we're now going to make the pipe connection to the pump, tie the rope, secure the cable mechanically, and bind everything up and get it ready to put down the well. Now we're going to connect the plastic pipe adapter to the top of the pump. Wrapping it with Teflon tape, which is a commonly used pipe thread sealant. It's very important to use strong, proper, rust-resistant connectors because this part is under a lot of stress. It's the pipe that holds the weight of the pump and the pressure of the water. I'm putting the safety rope through these eyelets to secure it to the pump with a good knot that won't slip, like that. The next thing we're going to do is make a slack loop. If this connection were to ever break and the pump drops a little bit, before the rope grabs it, we want to be able to release a little tension from the cable. So this is a good safety refinement. I don't use a cable tie, but rather electrical tape because it will break loose if it needs to. And then we'll tape it here. Then we take cable ties. These are interesting little gadgets which go like this. When you pull it, it goes one way but not the other, and it makes a very secure binding. Now, cable ties are usually made of nylon. Nylon deteriorates in water. We use polypropylene cable ties, which will hold up well underwater for years. So we're going to bind all three components together all the way up the line. We'll put a few cable ties close together near the bottom of the line. And after that, we put them about every 10 feet. We're leaving a little bit of extra slack in the electric cable because the rope and the pipe are plastic and they'll stretch a little bit, about 1.5%. The electric wire will not stretch. The copper is not stretchy. So we leave a little bit extra here to allow the other parts to stretch. The next thing we're going to do is attach the top of the drop pipe to the pitless adapter, which will be bringing the water out to the above ground world. We're ready to go down the hole. Now, the farther you go, the heavier it gets because we have all that cable down there. The electric wire is heavy. Whenever we have to pull it out, the water pipe will probably be full of water and be much heavier. Anyway, you want to have enough people on hand to help because this can get a bit dangerous if you don't have enough people and you have a very heavy assembly to handle. And sometimes things aren't perfect. It can be difficult to line up the pitless adapter, and you need to have help then. If you can't get enough people, call a professional pump installer and have them do it. Don't take any chances with this stuff. It's also a good idea to pour a little bit of chlorine bleach, like Clorox, into the well after you're done in order to sanitize it, because here we are introducing dirt. The submersible cable comes up from the well casing, goes down the conduit, and in this junction box we make our connections to the wires that come from the solar array. This must be done before making the final connections at the solar array and flipping the switch, so we don't have any power at this juncture.